Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Brad. I just want to talk a little bit about this book, Turning Pro. A couple quick lessons that I just think are very important for people who aspire for more to learn about. So, if you've read Pressfield's other masterpiece, The War of Art, this is probably the prelude to Turning Pro. So, what the War of Art is, in a very, very quick description of it, is essentially this book is about identifying resistance. Resistance is this force that Pressfield calls the thing that stops. It's a benevolent force that essentially every single human being who aspires to be creative, to start a business, to do something beyond the easy, quick, simple, four-lane highway approach to life, like getting a 9 to 5 job or something like that, and going to college and getting married. Anybody who wants to be something more, do something bigger, the resistance is what stops them. So that's what that first book is about, is identifying that force called resistance. This book is about turning pro, and I'm going to read one line, one paragraph from it that is extremely powerful. Turning pro is free, but it is not without cost. When we turn pro, we give up a life with which we may have become extremely comfortable. We give up a self that we have come to identify with and call our own. We may have to give up friends, lovers, even spouses. Turning pro is free, but it demands sacrifice. The passage is often accompanied by an interior odyssey whose trials are survived only at great cost, emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually. We pass through a membrane when we turn pro. It hurts. It's messy. It's scary. We tread in blood when we turn pro. Turning pro is not for everyone. We have to be a little bit crazy to do it, or even want to. In many ways, the passage chooses us. We don't choose it. We simply have no alternative. What we get when we turn pro is we find our power, we find our will, we find our voice, and we find our self-respect. We become who we always were, but had until then been afraid to embrace and live out. Do you remember where you were on 9/11? That's where you'll remember where you were when you turn pro. So I'm going to read that last line again, those 2 lines. Do you remember where you were on 9/11? You'll remember where you were when you turn pro. That shit just hit me like all of his books they just hit you like a slap in the face. And I was just reading through this part where he talks about identifying the difference between the amateur and the pro. He's describing in this chapter the amateur. He's talking about who the amateur is. Essentially, the amateur is this narcissist, egotist, somebody that only cares about himself, and he cares about how others perceive him. And the overall gist of what the book is about is just getting rid of that ego, realizing that it's not about you, it's about what you leave behind and the work that you can produce, the quality work. Put everything into the work. It's about what you produce. It's not about how people see you. It's not about what you even get out of it. And truthfully, in my own experience, the greatest satisfaction that I've had in my life has not always been from receiving. In fact, it's never really been from the receiving, but it's been about pushing myself to do things that have been extremely challenging and really tough for me, that push up against my own limits of what it is that I'm capable of doing, what I know I should do. So for instance, writing, doing an ebook, doing a speech, putting together an event, doing things that make me extremely uncomfortable that I know that I had to do in order to achieve the next level of success. And there's a bunch of shit that I know that I need to do that is very fucking scary. And we all have these things that when you do it, that is where you get the joy. You get the joy and the progress and that feeling of just like, it's not even about the feeling. It's really about the work ultimately. Like even listening to myself talk right now, I'm talking about that good feeling. But that good feeling is a way to know that you're on track too. If you feel free, chances are you're going to feel that freedom, that good feeling that I'm describing right now of like accomplishment, pride, freedom. It comes when you do something that's very difficult, very challenging for you. Any other time that you're not living up to that fullest potential, you're going to feel like you're cheating yourself, like restless, anxious, angry, because you're not doing what you're supposed to do. And we all know what we're supposed to do. We all know what we really ultimately want to do and what we want to leave behind. But the times that we're not acting in alignment with that, those are the times that we feel the restlessness, the anxiety. So I'd encourage you guys to do something that you really know that you should do, or to even force yourself to ask these questions like, what do you really want? What do you want to leave behind? What do you want your life's work to be? What do you want to ultimately leave behind? Do you want to write books? Do you want to inspire people, help people? Do you want to help grow businesses? Do you want to grow your own business? What do you want to do? What do you want to leave behind? And the more that you ask yourself that question, I ask myself that question all the fucking time, the more that you can actually see what it is that you feel like you should be leaving behind and on planet Earth, and then go for it. Just do it. That's the difference between the pro and the amateur. So that's it. Highly recommend this book. It's a total kick in the face because there are no more excuses. Nobody understands resistance, amateur behavior more than Steve Pressfield. He's written it amazingly in this book and his other books. So it's a super easy read. Talk to you guys later. Peace. Got to get to work.